Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janie Lee Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast. I hope you've had a really good week. And it was great to see a few podcast listeners rock up on our live webinar. I did a webinar the other night about finding your purpose in sobriety and obviously sharing some of the stuff around our sober coach training. But it wasn't a selling webinar in any way. It was really just to kind of talk about how exciting it is, really, that once you quit alcohol, you often do start to realize, I really want to share this. I want to support other people. I want to, just find a new purpose. And so it feels really exciting. So thank you to those of you who attended. And there were some interesting kind of comments as part of that webinar as well. We ended up discussing how frustrating it is that there is still after all these years and the awareness now, or you would think the awareness of people choosing not to drink, there is still judgment around. There still is, and particularly in the workplace, in corporate sectors. One of the guys on the webinar was saying that, in the kind of workplace where he hangs out, that there's almost a sense of you're sober shamed. If you're not drinking, you're not one of the lads, there's something a little bit wrong with you. I mean, how crazy that there is that kind of approach in this day and age. It's just bonkers. And those of us that don't drink, it's not that we are trying to evangelize to the extent that everyone must stop. You've got to be ready. Absolutely, you've got to be ready. It's not about prohibition. It's about having absolute equality, really. It should be seen as completely normal to choose not to drink as to drink. You certainly shouldn't be made to feel like there's anything wrong with you. And I think this is just one of the things that makes people who are in the early days feel really fearful. They feel fearful about being judged. And it's a real thing. So we need more people going out into the world and spreading awareness of positive sobriety and just how fantastic it really is. The other thing that's been happening this week is our 7-day self-love challenge within the Sober Club. And that's been great, actually, just sort of encouraging people to focus on, well, self-esteem, self-love, self-care, just that awareness of knowing that it's okay to be you. And again, without any judgment, just beginning to focus on self-compassion, which, as you know, I believe is really hard to do when you're drinking. I think that the toxic liquid knocks out a whole kind of layer, if you like. And it's very difficult to keep your vibes high, to have that sort of spiritual connection or even that sense of balance and self-esteem that comes when you've quit the booze. So we've been trying to think about that this week in the Sober Club, and it's been really nice to see the response to some of the meditations that I've shared and some of the inspirational messages. And I hope we've been able to inspire a few people towards that way of thinking, or at least making a start on it, because it doesn't come instantly. I mean, it really doesn't. I'm not being ridiculous and suggesting that the day after you quit alcohol, suddenly you can click your fingers and say, right, that's it. I've got fantastic self-esteem now. Kind of doesn't work that way. In fact, there's often a few weeks, few months even of feeling that sense of shame and guilt. And really we have to let that go. We really do. We have to be compassionate and kind to ourselves. Because this is not your fault. You've heard me say that a lot of times as well. It's not your fault. Alcohol is addictive. Alcohol is pervasive in our society. It is, as we know, in the words of the great Jason Vale, the only drug that we have to justify not taking. So it's not your fault. You just got, sucked in as everyone else did. So, but you can get free. That's the really good news. Speaking of freedom, there are still chance, literally, if you're listening to this, as I record it anyway, there is still chance to book onto our Family Constellations Day on Sunday. Systemic constellations is tricky to describe, but totally amazing to experience. So check it out. Go to thesoberclub.com, have a look at constellations and see if you're open-minded enough to come and join us for a Constellations Day on Sunday in Hertfordshire. It'd be great to see you. This week's podcast, by the way, we're going to dig into the topic of liver health. It's an interesting one, of course, because, we know that the rise in liver disease is huge. We know that that's not all down to alcohol, but alcohol certainly won't be helping, that's for sure. So we're going to talk about liver health with a liver health specialist and nutritionist, Sharan Verma. And actually, Sharon's also got a 6-week course, Liver Accelerator 6-week course, which sounds absolutely fantastic. If it's an area that you really want to sort of deep dive into, then she's got a special offer on her course. So you'd need to click my link in the show notes if you want to get that special offer, if you want to get some money off her course. But I'll remind you again later, and you'd need to go to the show notes, or you can go to thesoberclub.com and click on the blog post there. If you're interested in liver health. I mean, who isn't, quite frankly? Once you go through this journey, you kind of realize, wow, I mean, what the hell was I doing to myself? Seriously, what hideous levels of self-harm was I getting into, really? And it's crazy, because if you'd said that to me years ago, you realize you're self-harming. Oh, don't be ridiculous. But of course I was. We all are when we're drinking. That's how bad it is for you. And, it's really powerful when you recognize you can take back control of your own health and well-being, because without any shadow of a doubt, alcohol is responsible for just a huge number of different cancers and, well, just everything, really. Everything linked to inflammation. Everything's made worse by alcohol. There's nothing that, would benefit from carrying on drinking. Let's put it that way. It was interesting in my coaches group recently. One coach was saying that she had a client who was feeling worse since she stopped drinking. She was, just kind of getting ill and having all kinds of symptoms and just really not feeling well at all, at a time when she was thinking, well, I should be feeling better. I've quit alcohol. But of course, it doesn't quite work like that, does it? It takes a while for everything to recalibrate, everything to settle down. And, the phrase that we sometimes use as therapists is a healing crisis. Perhaps what's going on is literally a healing crisis. Your body is trying to heal and trying to potentially detox from years and years of abuse. That's usually what's been going on, isn't it? So we have to be patient with ourselves. I mean, of course, if you've quit alcohol and you're not, you're not feeling great, then yeah, of course, get things checked out medically. It's always worth doing that, because we don't know what the hell alcohol's been hiding as well, been masking. So always get checked out. That's common sense. But we also do need an amount of patience, and, again, comes back to that kindness to ourselves. And if we don't want to go out and rush off out to events or whatever, then, that lovely phrase, here it is again, no is a complete sentence. How powerful is that? Just no. That'll do. You don't need to make any explanation. You don't need to explain yourself. Just look after yourself, set your own boundaries. And if you're not feeling so great, then happier times will come. Throw that tape forward, as it were. Just before I get into the interview, I must tell you that our event is set up, and it is happening on Tuesday, the 18th of March at Club Soda in London. Tickets are available now. You have to book them direct with Club Soda, but if you go, you can go via me, thesoberclub.com, click on events, you'll see the banner there. I know it's a school night and all, but it's such a great opportunity to just come. You can come on your own, or you can bring your friends, of course, but you really, that is going to be a place where there is no judgment. Trust me, there really is going to be absolutely no judgment. You're going to get to feel like you're part of a group of like-minded people who have absolutely got your back. So whether you're early days and day one, or whether you've been sober for 10 years, come along, come and join us. It would be so great to have you as part of that gathering. We're going to do a recording of the Alcohol Free Life podcast, which then will of course play to everybody, but we're going to do it live. I've got some special guests, Sam Delaney, is popping up again. He's got a brand new book, Sort Your Shit Out, which sounds literally like we all need that one, right? And also Helen from Sober AF Dating. So Sober AF Dating are going to be part of that podcast, and I'm so excited about their whole thing. I mean, thankfully, and I am grateful, I have to say, I'm not in the dating game, but I do have friends who are, even people my age, perhaps it's second time around or third time around. And of course, my own kids are in that scene. And it's a thing for sure, isn't it? If you've quit alcohol, how do you navigate the dating scene? How do you start? Do you make it absolutely clear from the off that you want to be with someone who doesn't drink, or doesn't it matter? Or I mean, how do you do it? Honestly, it's a bit of a minefield, I think. But Sober AF Dating, that's their thing, and they're creating an app, and they've got all sorts of exciting things coming up. So we're going to be chatting a bit about that as well, and there'll be other special guests to be confirmed. So we'll let you know. And it's all in the surroundings of Club Soda, which is just so cool. It's been featured on TV recently several times. There is every single possible alcohol-free drink you could ever imagine. And you get to literally sit at a bar if you want to and have a fantastic alcohol-free cocktail. Or if that's not your thing, then you can have a kombucha or an artisan tonic water, or whatever, and you get some money off your purchases as well. So you can go home carrying your little bag of all the good stuff to try. It's a really nice environment. So I really hope you'll join us. Getting quick, because the tickets do tend to sell out quickly, and obviously the venue is very tiny. So it's Tuesday, 18th of March at Club Soda. We're calling it Sober Spring, a live podcast meetup and inspirational evening. Again, if you go to thesoberclub.com and click on events. My guest is Sharan Verma, who is, she's got so many credits. I don't know where to start, really, but she's a nutritionist, basically, a liver health specialist and founder of Renourish with Sharan. And I love the idea that we're going to get to chat about the liver, specifically, Sharan, which is a topic very close to many of our hearts, as I'm sure you're aware. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know that one of the things you very much focus on is raising awareness about liver wellness, through personalized nutrition, through lifestyle change, and you've worked with organizations like the British Liver Trust and therefore sort of clients referred from the NHS. So I guess, I really want to dig into all of that because I'm very interested in the state of the nation, when it comes to liver health. But before we do that, just tell me a bit about your personal journey to get to this point, because, there's as with so many of us who kind of support others, we've got our own story as well, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So my story began when my dad was diagnosed at the age of 50. So we're talking 2001. He was told he had liver disease. And when my dad was told that, we as a family, we dismissed it because my dad never drank alcohol. So we as a family all assumed if you drink alcohol, of course you're going to get liver disease. We never associated liver disease with our diet. So it's only when I started to go to these appointments and visit the liver, consultant, where they said, no, this is food related. So this has nothing to do with alcohol, but because your dad is slightly above a healthy weight range, his liver has now started to develop fatty deposits. And the advice he was given was to lose weight and no real guidance. So my dad's method of losing weight was, I'm going to cut out everything. I'll have an apple for breakfast. I'll go on loads of walks. I'm not going to have anything until dinner. That didn't do his liver any favors. So by the time we had another appointment with a consultant, maybe 6, 7 months later, his liver had gone to fibrosis, which is where the liver has now started to scar because of the fatty deposits.
Wow.
So by the time he hit 60, this is 10 years later, his liver had gone from liver, fatty liver to liver fibrosis to now liver cirrhosis. So your liver shape has changed. He needed a transplant, and unfortunately, he didn't get one. So he died 10 years later after
Wow.
being told he had liver disease. So from there, I went into mourning my dad's death, thinking, was there a way that we could have saved him? Did we do enough? Why isn't it spoken about? We get called for getting our bowels checked, breast checks, smear tests. Why are we not getting called for our liver health? What's going on here? And it's only when I reached out to the British Liver Trust, who have, given me so much knowledge and so much support, where I actually understood actually this is coming from the types of food that we're eating. It comes from our lifestyle. And sadly, or should I say sadly, but 90% of liver disease cases are preventable if we look after our diet and lifestyle. So
Mm.
it's basically from there where I haven't looked back. And it's just been me changing my career from a corporate world to studying nutrition, getting the qualification, now helping with the NHS, and really just being that advocate for, come on, our liver is just as vital as our heart.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, just give us a little bit of 101, basics. Just remind us, what the liver, what the liver does. What is fatty liver disease? Then we know that it
Yeah.
can be come on because of diet, and of course, alcohol will
Yeah.
not help. But what exactly is it? What goes
So
wrong?
a fatty liver disease is recently they've changed its name and they've made it such a complicated name. I don't know why, but it's now called metabolic dysfunction associated steatostatic liver disease.
Oh,
And
how annoying!
why they I know it's so annoying, but the reason they've changed it is because they are now encompassing all metabolic factors. So, say type 2 diabetes, if you've got raised cholesterol levels, high blood pressure, these are all metabolic diseases. And research is showing if you've got any of those diseases, the chance of your liver getting worse, it's all linked, it's connected. So they want to take away the stigma of the word fatty. And so they've
Right.
changed now to this long word, which I like to now refer to as mazzled. So what happens in this condition is excess fats builds up in the liver. So it's not always due to alcohol. This is due to your diet and your lifestyle. And this disease has been misunderstood for years. And as I said, disease was always associated with alcohol consumption. And I'm guilty of that because prior to my dad getting diagnosed, I was one of those people who thought that. But now we know that a poor diet, being above a healthy weight range, perhaps you have type 2 diabetes, so your insulin resistance, and even stress can contribute to fatty liver disease. So it even impacts people who haven't even touched alcohol.
Yeah, and also the interesting thing I read was reading through some of the stuff you do is that it seems to be affecting younger people now as well. So what in more recent years, I'm guessing there has been an increase. If we were to look back, I don't know, 60 years or something, there will have been an increase. I mean, can that be attributed largely to eating more processed foods?
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, we now got food at a touch of a button. You don't need to leave your house. Everything's getting delivered to you. And most people nowadays, they've got stressful jobs. It's no longer that 9 to 5 that we once used to have where you could leave work at home. People are now working from home. They're bringing their stress home. They're having just food that is convenient to them. And they're not doing it because they don't know any better. It's just that that's the food that's available to them. But this
Mm.
is where I think education needs to come in to show people that you can still make nutritious meals and it can be quick and easy, but it's actually giving people the tools that they need to help
Yeah.
them to.
Yeah, it's interesting though, isn't it? Because it's not just the liver health. Obviously, as you say, that's hugely important. So is heart health. So is everything really. All everything to do with our holistic health is key, and kind of everything comes back to diet. And mindset is important too. But
Yeah,
when you recognize, that food is everything, you
yeah.
of all people will know that generally in the UK, I mean, unless I'm mistaken and it's changed because that's perfectly possible. I haven't had personal experience of this for a good many years, but unless it has changed massively, what goes on within the NHS is not supporting that in any way at all. Doctors do not have enough training, if any, in nutrition, and the whole baseline of looking to nutrition first, and even preventatively, rather than when the horse is bolted, it just doesn't
Mhm.
happen in the UK.
You're absolutely right. So from a doctor's standpoint, we as the public need to remember that doctors are not nutritionists. They're
No,
not
absolutely.
trained that. So whilst they might say to you go on a diet, they're not going to be able to give you the right guidance that you need. However, if you go onto the NHS website and type it down, about food, for example, it will give you information on what you need to do. Even the NHS website, Better Health, that will teach you as well. But I like to teach people to try and adapt the Mediterranean style diet. It helps any kind of condition that you have. what we know is one of the most researched diets for liver disease and liver health, and that's because it's rich in anti-inflammatory and nutrient-dense foods. So I'm talking about foods such as, say, healthy fats, so that's your extra virgin olive oil, maybe some avocados, some nuts, for example. We've got lean protein, so your chicken, your fish, trying to fish twice a week if possible. Fiber-rich foods like vegetables, fruits, whole grains, your herbs, your spices. These are all things that we can add to our diet. It's never about removing things from your diet. It's about what can you add? What can
Yeah.
you that's going to help you to feel fuller for longer, give you the energy that you need, and try and simplify it. I think that's where we go wrong with our nutrition. We try and overcomplicate things and you try and think, I need to go on a detox. Well, actually, you don't, because that's one of the things that your liver does for free. To save yourself some money, you don't need those detox teas. Your liver does that for you.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, it's interesting that you believe that the right information is there on the NHS website. I'm not 100% sure I'd agree with that, but it's good that there are some basics there now. I
Yeah,
mean,
there are
certainly at one time the NHS's Eat Well plate or whatever they called it, I would disagree with entirely.
yeah,
There was very little. They were up until very recently, and again, as I say, I really hope it's changed. I hope I'm wrong, but they were very against fat in inverted commas. They were kind of encouraging low fat, low sugar, which we know are terrible,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely terrible for us. And of course, I mean, it's not the conversation to have now, but if anyone is unlucky enough to go into hospital, um, well, the food can't even be called food, really. Um, you don't have a hope in hell if you're in hospital, and
I'm not
and
going to.
yet, for me, how can it? I know you say doctors not nutritionists, but they really do need training in nutrition, because
Yeah.
if they don't, how can they miss out one of the most vital parts of recovery? It's bizarre, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. I mean, I remember when Dad was diagnosed and when he was told to go on a diet, I did say to Dad, okay, so have they given you any kind of it? Has your doctor told you what kind of diet to go on? And Dad was like, no. And
Mm.
that's where I'm coming in and I'm talking about it and saying, this, if you get diagnosed with a fatty liver, this is what you need to do.
Yeah,
This is the exact approach I take with my own private patients, and they go on to reverse it. Some reverse it in 90 days, some reverse it in a year. It all
right.
depends on how consistent you are. And you are having to make changes to your lifestyle. So, it's not a one size fits all approach.
No, exactly. We have to take back
Yeah.
responsibility, don't
Hey,
we? Yeah,
we're
we
all
absolutely do.
unique. We're all unique.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there'll be people listening to this podcast who like me, used to drink a lot in the past, no longer drink. And yet, what we're realizing is it still might, it may not be a case of, okay, you've stopped drinking, and you're a few months or a few years on, and now you're good to go. Everything's good. As you say, there could still be some lifestyle dietary changes that are really important to make to
Yeah.
support our liver. Okay, we're not pouring in the excess alcohol anymore, but what are we doing food wise? So, what would be your recommendations for people who have quit alcohol? And let's be honest, there may have been a bit of damage to the liver.
I mean, the great thing about the liver is that, if you catch it soon enough, you can repair some of the
Yeah, it
damage.
repairs, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it is about trying to have more whole foods in your diet. So as food as in its natural state as possible. So that is the fruit, that's the veg, your beans, pulses, your spices, your nuts, etc. And they don't always have to be fresh produce. You can get the tinned version, you can get the frozen version to help you, and trying to just simplify your meals. You don't have to have something, exotic, full of flavor, full of creamy sauces all the time. Just stick to the basics. Make sure, try and have what I like to call eat the rainbow. So you're
Yeah.
having a diverse amount of color, diverse amount of nutrients going into your body, but also it makes your meals interesting as well. You're not going to get bored of having the same kind of meal if you're trying to introduce different flavors and colors.
Yeah. What do you think about the link between sort of gut health and liver health? What would you say are the links, if any?
So the liver and gut is linked by our portal vein. So if you've got a healthy gut and a healthy microbiome, it will support your liver health. And the way you get a healthier gut is if you try and have, now I think the recommended guideline is 30 plant points a week. That doesn't mean 30 different vegetables. That does also include your herbs and your spices as well.
Yeah.
And we can do that. And I think when people hear 30, think, oh gosh, how am I going to eat 30 vegetables in a week? But if you try and think, actually, it's not just the veg, it's the seeds, it's your nuts, it's your
Mm.
beans, pulses, your legumes, etc. Trying to diversify that, that's going to be great for your gut as well as your liver health
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
all foods, it's
I
all
think
nutrition.
I think sometimes that's the bit people forget, isn't it? That, if you eat exactly the same thing every day, you're not going to be able to get that diversity in the microbiome, and
Yeah,
that's what makes it difficult. Because I mean, you can't, you get into a rut, don't you? Like, oh, I'll have this on the way to work, and I'll have that at lunchtime, and before you know it, a week's gone by. And you've really had kind of, I don't know, 10 different foods max, and you just keep repeating exactly the same meal. But it's, as you say, it's not that difficult if you just change it up slightly just by chucking some different herbs and spices in. That
yeah.
can make the difference, can't it, really? Because
We're
we
creatures of
have to,
habit, aren't we? When we
yeah,
just,
but we have to make it for our life. I think that's the important thing. I mean, I'm always banging on about, the early weeks of when people are ditching the booze, the
yeah,
importance of having really nutritious food at a time when often people are thinking, oh, I might drop a few pounds. I think I won't eat either. A bit like you said, your dad is like, oh, I'll have an
yeah.
apple. It's a terrible thing to do.
It,
It's
it is.
terrible.
And what
Um,
I like to say to my own patients is, let's make weight loss a byproduct. So leave that to one side. Let's
exactly.
look at food. What can you add? And the weight will take care of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And where are you at with the whole idea of supplements that you think that you might recommend? What kinds of supplements would you recommend,
So
if any?
any supplement I would ever recommend, especially in this country, is vitamin D. That's the only one. And really, supplements should be added only if you're lacking in something. So, I'm not a very huge fan of go and have a supplement because sometimes if you're suffering from liver disease, taking a supplement may harm your liver. So it's always best to talk to the liver consultant about that. But vitamin D, yes, go for that for sure.
Okay, I would add in magnesium to that, the right magnesium blend. That's just from my personal perspective. What would you say to anyone who is thinking, well, how would I know then? How do I know if my liver is compromised?
Yeah, this is the thing with liver disease. It's known as a silent killer because initially, when it begins, there are no signs. So by
Mm.
the time you start getting signs, you might have a dull ache on the side of the right side of your abdomen. Perhaps you're feeling really fatigued. You may start to get itching for some reason or the other, where it's not so like some little itching, it's uncontrollable itching. You might start to get maybe you got a little bit of swelling in your tummy or legs. Or you might be lucky enough where you've gone for a routine blood test and your liver enzymes have come back elevated. That's when your doctor will research that and look more into it and may send you for a further test, another blood test, just to make sure that wasn't a one-off. If it has been elevated again for the second time, you may be sent for a scan, so an ultrasound, or you might be sent for something like a fiber scan where they're checking the texture of your liver. And from there, they'll be able to tell you whether or not you have got fatty liver disease.
Right. But for most people, I mean, you would be on a trajectory of having tests for something else, as it were, rather than just, rocking up to check your liver, as it were. That's not a routine test.
But it would come up in, even if you went for a routine blood test, it would come up
I
in
see.
there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So is that something you would recommend people do if they've been drinking for a lot of years?
I do. Yes, I'd recommend you go at least once a year. I mean, I do it for myself. I'll go in and just, I like to call it my yearly MOT, where I want to just check how everything is going for myself. And I would
Mm,
actually, and I do recommend my patients do the same thing.
right. That's interesting. So, and how is it measured then? Is it's elevated
Yeah.
levels of something on a blood test, is it?
Yeah. So they're looking
Yeah.
for your ALT level. And if it's for women, if it's above 35 units, then it is indicates your liver is inflamed. For men, it's up until 50, and if it's above that, it indicates your liver is inflamed. But they like to do that blood test at least twice just to make sure it wasn't a one-off.
Mm, yeah, and obviously, what we're talking about here is your approach, which is a holistic approach, and you would help clients with their nutrition, lifestyle changes. But typically, then, what would happen if someone rocked up just to a GP and they were told that they have these raised levels? What advice, or would they be given medication? What's the usual pathway?
So there's no medication for liver disease. The only medication is food. So the doctors, So this is what I'm hearing back from my patients, and even what's coming across on Instagram. The doctor will say, shockingly, don't worry about it. Everyone's got fatty liver disease.
Oh
Or
God.
they'll say something like, just go on a diet. Another person was told, you know what to do.
Oh
And when I
wow.
things like that, it really infuriates me because I think nothing has changed in terms of the doctor's delivery. And that because I know what can happen and because I've lived through it with my dad, it really infuriates me because I think this needs to stop. The doctors are the first point of call. They need to be telling patients, right, you've got liver disease. This is what could happen. You are now in control. This is what I suggest you to do. And there needs to be some kind of program happening within the NHS. And this is what I'm trying to advocate. This is
Mm,
why I joined the NHS so that I could, because I've joined as a health coach. So I am asking my bosses, let's have a program just for fatty liver disease patients.
mm,
So when they come in, there's a point of contact for them who can guide them for at least 3 months,
yeah.
to help them give them that helping hand that they're not on their own. So I try
Yeah.
to give look, I give a lot of information on my Instagram page, on my Facebook page. That's the feedback I get is that they get more info from me than they are from the GPs, which is really sad.
Mm, yeah, it is. I mean, obviously, from my perspective, I would like them to maybe remind them that alcohol has zero benefits and even one glass is harmful. But that's going to be difficult because, an awful lot of people drink themselves. But, the doctors don't have to, they don't necessarily have to practice what they preach. They just have to be aware that there is another way. You don't have to wait till you hit rock bottom, just like you don't have to wait till your liver disease is so bad it can't be reversed.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line, isn't it, really?
Yeah, but I think the
Um,
more we speak about it, the more
yeah.
the awareness raised. I mean, look, everyone knows about bowel disease now. Everyone knows about going to get your breast screening done. Why are we not giving the same importance to our liver?
Mm,
We should. We need to.
yeah, it's really interesting. So what are the kind of stats, just out of interest? I mean, where are we at in the UK?
1 in 5. So in the UK, 1 in 5 people in the UK currently have a fatty liver, but they may not know about it. And if you compare that to alcohol-related liver disease, it's 1 in 10.
Wow.
Right, so
Mm,
1 in 5 in the UK have got fatty liver disease, and this isn't just a UK issue. This is like a global issue. So if you look at Australia and India, I believe it's 1 in 3. America, I think, is 1 in 4 people have got it. So
mm.
I just think the more we speak about it, the more we raise awareness, the more informed the general public will be, and hopefully, by people being more aware, we can prevent this disease from getting worse.
Yeah. So so just to go over it again then, what would be the key lifestyle changes that we can make then, that to support our liver to, if we feel we're okay, how can we ensure we
Yeah.
stay okay?
So it's about having a varied diet. So the more calorie you got in your diet, the better. So a nice Mediterranean style diet, eating the rainbow. Try and move more, especially if you're working from home. Try and get out and prioritize maybe 20 minutes a day going out for a walk so your movement is in there too. Stress levels. I know everyone gets stressed, but if you can try and have a little bit of time out for yourself, that will help you as well. And really just sticking to the basics. You don't need to overcomplicate things. You don't need to be having loads of supplements. You don't need to be having going on these detox drinks or cleanses. You don't need that. Just eat
Mm,
well, a moderate style diet. And if you do have, fancy a piece of cake or a biscuit, have it. Because whatever sort of changes you make need to be sustainable lifelong. This isn't a
mm.
diet, this is a lifestyle change. And I think the more we start to practice the lifestyle changes, the easier it is to stick to.
Yeah. And as you say, it's very much about what you add in, isn't it? So I always say to clients in the early weeks of quitting alcohol, you might get a bit of a sugar head on, and
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world. just swap it for healthier versions. So if you craving sugar, have a date, or particularly dates in the freezer are fabulous from the
Yeah.
freezer. So have a date or have some dark chocolate or whatever. But if you ensure that you've had a really good sized, properly nutritious meal, actually, when you've had that, when you've had a really good, properly satiating meal, it's actually really hard to have, 38 donuts after that, or
It
even
is.
one. It's actually
Yeah,
really hard.
it is.
Usually it's that we've not had the right meal. So of course we crave sugar. Of course we do,
Yeah.
because we haven't had anything that feels satiating.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. You've hit
really
the
it, isn't it? It's the
yeah,
adding
exactly.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. So, just tell us a little bit about what you offer then, Sharan. You obviously you work one to one with clients. Actually, just before you do that, just tell me, what do you do with the what kind of thing do you do with the British Liver Trust then? What are they doing that's making a difference right now?
At the moment, they are liaising with Parliament, with the MPs, because they want to get liver screening done
Oh, do
permanently.
they? Okay, that's interesting.
And
Right.
they do the Love Your Liver Roadshow. So that's done across the country. So if you go onto the British Liver Trust website, you can see where they are and you can go and get your liver scan for free, which is
Right. Oh, can
big.
you?
Yeah,
Interesting. Ah,
yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. They go
That's
around the
good to
country
know.
every year and they'll
Right.
set up in your local shopping area and you can go in and have a liver scan done. It is fantastic.
Right.
It's
That's
going
a
to be
great
really,
initiative.
it's brilliant. So at least they are there. What I do is I support them as much as I can. So come January, it's always Love Your Liver month. So I help promote that for them. Last year, I was involved in sending a message to the MPs. So, just telling them about my story, about what happened to dad, just trying to get the word out there. But yeah, they do great things. They offer so much support. They've got liver health nurses as well, who you can call if you are a liver disease patient. They support you as well. So it's
Mm.
an organization that's very, very close to my heart.
Right. That's great. That's good. That's really good to hear. Yeah. So just remind us what you do then.
So I work with patients on a one-to-one basis. They can either work with me for 6 weeks, which I like to call my liver accelerator program. So that's if you've just been diagnosed, I will teach you the basics in terms of what you need to do, dietary changes, and I'll work alongside you. This isn't me judging you, it is me helping you to get to, the goal that you want to. The other option I have is my 3-month program where we work one-to-one together. It's more intensive, and that does focus more on lifestyle changes, on your movement. We look at your diet as a whole, what we can add to it, what we can take away from it, what we can reduce, what we can, really help you to get to the end goal, which is to reverse fatty liver disease.
Mm.
Some of my patients have done it in 90 days. Some of them it takes a year because it all depends on how quickly the changes are made and what's sustainable to them. Because life happens, life gets in the way. So it's
Of
about
course.
navigating it and me holding their hand and helping them navigate through the tough times as well, to
Mm,
making them
absolutely.
just being the little cheerleader and saying, do this, you know.
Absolutely. Brilliant. So we'll pop all the details in the show notes. It's sharanverna.com. Is that right? Your
That's right, yeah.
sharanverma.com, your website. But we'll pop all that in the show notes and details of your programs. Thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And all the best with the work that you're doing. And let's hope, maybe if we had a chat in a year's time, we'll find lots of things have changed. That'd be good, wouldn't it? That'd be really
I
good.
hope so. Yeah,
I I,
thank you so
I I
much.
heard something really fascinating just this weekend that we kind of complain that the NHS are not open enough to new stuff. And then I found out like just last weekend that St. George's Hospital in London have got a whole research project going on where they're bringing in Reiki practitioners to
Really,
support
yeah,
patients. How cool is that? I
it
mean,
is really cool. Yeah,
talk about being open. That's
yeah,
amazing. So,
right.
so I shouldn't complain too much. Maybe big changes happening. The next thing we know, doctors will be rocking it in nutrition. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. So thank you, Sharon. Really appreciate it. Interesting chat about how we can care for our liver, which we've probably been abusing all these years. So Sharon has a 6-week accelerator course, Liver Accelerator 6 weeks. And there's a special link to get a discount. If you've, been listening to this podcast and you want to get a discount on that course, then click the link that's in the show notes. Or if you go to thesoberclub.com, click on the blog post that's about liver health and it will direct you there. Obviously there's a conversation about various supplements and stuff as part of that. As you know, my personal opinion is that absolutely everybody should take the right magnesium. I'm a really big fan of a specific magnesium blend that for me has been an absolute game changer. So I'm going to pop the link for that in there as well. I do think it's super important in those early weeks to get the right, the right nutrition, the right supplements. It just makes a massive difference really to your quick recovery and ongoing. So yeah, you'll find that blog post in the Sober Club. If you haven't thought about joining us in the club, then have a think about it. It doesn't matter if you're day 1, year 10, as I always say, it doesn't matter. Just come and join us because we focus on the what's next. It's a totally non-judgmental, supportive community, and it's chock full of incredible resources. It really is. We've got wonderful meditations. We've got sessions on nutrition and mindset, of course, and how the brain works and everything. I mean, honestly, you name it, everything linked to well-being is in there. Plus, there's a course, Get the Buzz Without the Booze, and we have regular meetups and we do fun things like the self-care challenge. And the important thing to stress is that the price is going up for new members. finally had to do it after all these years. So so if you do want to get in at the old price, then join us now before the price rises in I don't know, a week and a half or something, because it's once you're in, and it's just when new people join, the price will be going up. So thesoberclub.com, that's your kind of hub for everything. Click on events if you can come to Family Constellations on Sunday, and book your tickets for our live podcast recording at Club Soda. It's Tuesday, the 18th of March. Really looking forward to meeting some of you there. It's really, really usually a really kind of heartwarming evening, just getting to meet like-minded people in a social setting where you certainly do not have to apologize for not drinking, that's for sure. Well, we are drinking, it's just that we're drinking fabulous alcohol-free cocktails or alcohol-free wine or kombucha or whatever it is. That's exactly how it should be. It should feel like we've got plenty of choice, and you can have a wonderful time without alcohol. That's what it's all about, right? So I will see you same time next week. If you're struggling, if you're going through really difficult stuff at the moment, please reach out. I do still offer one-to-one coaching. I have a whole family of amazing sober coaches that I've trained. There's so much support available for you. Don't hole up and try and do this on your own, because that's where it goes wrong. That's what I did for years, and it didn't get me anywhere. It really didn't. The connection piece, the feeling of being inspired and staying inspired, that's what keeps you sober and keeps you hanging on. So reach out if you're struggling, even if you are not interested in joining the Sober Club, if you don't want coaching, if you don't want to spend any money, that's absolutely fine. If you just want to tell someone, just drop me a message. I will answer if I can. If I get your message, I will answer it. Can't say further than that, right? I'll hold that vision for you. See you next time. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.